You probably remember the Andy Griffith Show as this cozy, small-town slice of perfection, where Andy was wise, Barney was lovable, and Mayberry felt like the friendliest place in America. But here's the twist: even in this picture-perfect world, things weren't always so perfect. In fact, the show is packed with little mistakes, continuity errors, disappearing props, even a microphone sneaking its way into the shot. And the best part, back in the 1960s, hardly anyone noticed. No pause buttons, no HD replays, no fans freeze-framing every detail. People were too busy laughing at Barney's antics or humming along with the theme song. So today, we're rewinding the reel to uncover the 7 biggest blunders in the Andy Griffith Show. And trust me, once you see them, you'll never look at Mayberry quite the same way again. When the Andy Griffith Show first aired in 1960, nobody imagined it would become one of the most beloved sitcoms in American history. Week after week, families gathered around their living room TVs, black and white at first, then glorious Technicolor to escape to Mayberry, that charming little town where the biggest problem was usually Barney's latest blunder. The show ran for 8 seasons, cranked out 249 episodes, and even after it ended in 1968, reruns kept Mayberry alive for generations. It wasn't just entertainment, it became part of American culture, like apple pie and backyard barbecues. But here's the funny thing: in a time before streaming, before DVRs, before fans could rewind and zoom in, small mistakes were easy to miss. Continuity errors, recycled props, even guest actors playing multiple roles slipped right past the audience. And honestly, maybe that's why the show still feels so magical, because Mayberry was never about perfection. It was about heart. Now, let's start with a classic Barney Fife and his ever-mysterious badge. If you've watched enough episodes, you've probably noticed something strange sometimes. That shiny deputy badge is pinned proudly to Barney's chest. And other times, it's just gone.
You don't believe it, do you?
Poof.
Well, I didn't
Like
think
it never existed. One moment he's marching around the courthouse, chest puffed out like he's the law of the land. And in the very next shot, no badge. Did Barney forget to wear it? Did it fall off? Or maybe the prop guy simply went on a coffee break. Whatever the reason, the badge seems to have a life of its own. Continuity wasn't exactly the show's strong suit, and fans who binge today on DVD or streaming spot these little hiccups right away. Back in the 1960s, though most folks didn't even blink, they were too busy laughing at Don Knotts fumbling with his one bullet, or panicking over the smallest crime in Mayberry. Honestly, the disappearing badge almost feels fitting. Barney was always a little scatterbrained, so maybe the costume department was just keeping the character authentic. All right, blunder number 2 is one of my favorites, because it makes Mayberry look like it was built on quicksand. Ever notice how sometimes the Taylor house or the sheriff's office seems backwards? That's right. Entire sets were occasionally flipped, like someone hit the mirror button. In one shot, Andy's front door is on the left. Cut to the next scene. And surprise, it's on the right. Furniture swaps places. Pictures hang in reverse. And suddenly, Mayberry feels like some kind of Twilight Zone crossover. All that's missing is Rod Serling walking in with a cigarette. Now, why did this happen? Well, sometimes directors flipped the film to get a better angle or match up the action. It was a quick fix for a visual problem, but it left the set looking like a funhouse mirror. The best part is that the actors just carried on as if nothing happened. Andy still strolled through the door. Barney still tripped over himself. And the audience at home, they were none the wiser. But today, with sharp-eyed fans and high-definition reruns, those reversed sets stand out like Aunt Bee showing up with the same pie twice in one scene. Now, let's talk about the magic trick that would have made even Houdini proud.
Andy, he's no ordinary hobo. He's too slick. He might...
Andy or Barney strolls into a scene with their trusty sheriff's cap perched right where it belongs. Cut to the very next shot, and poof, it's gone. Not in their hand, not on a hook, just vanished into thin Mayberry air. This little blunder happens more than once, especially in outdoor scenes. You'll see Andy chatting with someone on the porch, hat shading his eyes. The camera angle changes, and suddenly, he's bareheaded, like the hat decided to take a coffee break. A few seconds later, Bam, it's back on his head, as if nothing happened. Now, back in the 60s, nobody noticed. Viewers were too caught up in the charm of Mayberry to care whether Andy's hat had teleportation powers. But for modern fans with pause buttons and eagle eyes, it's one of those, wait a minute, moments that bring a chuckle. Honestly, it fits the vibe perfectly. Mayberry was a town where time seemed to move slower. Pies never burned, and apparently, hats could come and go whenever they pleased. That's small-town magic for you. Next up, let's head out to the streets of Mayberry, where the police cars seem to have an identity crisis. Sheriff Taylor's squad car was supposed to be the pride of the town. A trusty Ford Galaxy donated courtesy of the show's sponsor. But if you watch closely, that trusty car kept swapping itself out like it was auditioning for a new role every week. One episode, Andy's cruising in a 62 model. Next week, suddenly it's a 63. Sometimes the license plate changes mid-scene, like the car had a quick trip to the DMV during commercial break. And if you look really closely, you'll even notice small details: mirrors, hubcaps, decals vanishing and reappearing like the hat from our last blunder. Of course, this wasn't some Mayberry mystery, it was product placement. Ford supplied new cars each season, and the show didn't worry too much about continuity. After all, who in 1963 was going to rewind the tape and fact-check hubcaps today? Though sharp-eyed fans spot it instantly. Still, there's something kind of perfect about it. Mayberry was always changing a little, but Andy's steady hand at the wheel made it all feel the same, even if the car couldn't quite make up its mind. All right, blunder number 5 is a real treat because it proves that even Mayberry wasn't safe from Hollywood's most famous uninvited guest, the boom mic. Yep, every so often, if you're watching closely, you can actually spot a microphone dangling down into the shot, like it's trying to sneak a cameo. Take the episode The Bank Job, for example. While Andy and Barney are wrapped up in their small-town drama, there it is just peeking in from the top of the frame. For a split second, Mayberry looks less like a timeless little town and more like a movie set with a very clumsy sound guy. Now, back in the 60s, most viewers never noticed. TVs were smaller, fuzzier, and let's be honest, everybody was too busy laughing at Don Knotts panicking over a major crime wave of jaywalking. But on today's giant HD screens, those stray microphones are hard to miss. The funny thing is, it almost adds to the charm. Mayberry was supposed to feel real, but catching a boom mic reminds us it was all make-believe, and somehow, that makes it even better. After all, if a mic wanted to live in Mayberry, who could blame it? Blunder number 6 takes us straight to the closet, because sometimes Mayberry's wardrobe department just couldn't keep its story straight. 1 minute, a background character is wearing a polka dot dress. Cut to the next shot, and suddenly it's a floral pattern. Either the folks of Mayberry were lightning fast at changing clothes, or somebody on set forgot what they were wearing yesterday. It wasn't just extras either. Even main characters occasionally had wardrobe hiccups. Aunt Bee might have an apron on in one scene, only for it to vanish when she walks into the kitchen 2 seconds later. Maybe she had a magic apron rack we never saw. Of course, part of the blame goes to the way TV was filmed back then. Episodes were shot over multiple days, sometimes weeks, and matching costumes perfectly wasn't always top priority. Directors were more worried about nailing the jokes than whether Aunt Bee's sleeves were rolled up in the last take. For modern fans, spotting these clothing slip-ups is like a fun Easter egg hunt. And honestly, it fits the Mayberry spirit, because if you lived in a town that wholesome, wouldn't you want an excuse to change outfits twice a day? And finally, blunder number 7. Mayberry had its very own Where's Waldo game. Except it wasn't Waldo, it was the guest stars. If you watched the series long enough, you probably started to recognize a few familiar faces popping up again and again, just playing completely different people. 1 week, a local actor might show up as the town mechanic. A few episodes later, bam, he's suddenly the mailman. Give it a season, and there he is again, now running a hardware store. Either Mayberry had the most ambitious career changes in America, or the casting department was just recycling whoever was handy. Of course, this wasn't unusual in 60s TV. Budgets were tight, and small-town stories didn't exactly require a massive cast. If someone fit the Mayberry look, they got called back mustache or no mustache. Fans today get a real kick out of this, spotting repeat Mayberryans and joking about how half the town must have been in witness protection. But honestly, it only adds to the cozy vibe. Because in Mayberry, even if you changed jobs, outfits, or entire personalities, Andy still knew your name and treated you like a neighbor. So there you have it. 7 of the biggest blunders hiding in plain sight on the Andy Griffith Show. Disappearing badges, flip-flop sets, teleporting hats, shape-shifting cars, nosy microphones, wardrobe slip-ups, and guest stars who couldn't seem to pick just one job in Mayberry. Now here's the thing. None of these little mistakes ever ruined the magic. In fact, they almost make the show more lovable. Because Mayberry was never about being flawless. It was about good stories, good laughs, and the kind of small-town heart that made America tune in week after week. Sure, modern fans with pause buttons and eagle eyes can spot every glitch, but maybe that's part of the fun, seeing that even in this perfect town, things weren't always so perfect. And somehow, that makes Andy, Barney, and Aunt Bee feel even more like family. So what about you? Have you ever spotted a Mayberry blooper that made you laugh out loud? Drop it down in the comments. We'd love to hear your favorites. And if you enjoyed this little trip back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us again as we uncover more hidden gems from the golden age of television. Because in Mayberry, there's always another story to tell.